Welcome to our next episode of my show, The Soul of Business and Life. I have amazing Tom Ziemann with me again today. He was my guest last week, but we want to continue our conversation because it was so good. We just want to do it some more. So today we are going to talk about a very, very good subject about relationships between men and women. I'm very excited about this. So welcome, Tom. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful, my friend. It's
Good, good.
a little chilly in the Pacific Northwest, little Indian summer, or
Oh,
like
yeah.
they say, the Mexican weather report, a chilly today, but a hot tamale.
Yeah, nice.
You're the summer fresh right there. Anyway.
All right, so Tom, you know what? We had a great conversation the last time, and I just wanted to touch base and talk a little bit more about how do our emotions affect our relationships. I'm sure you
Yeah.
have experience with this. I have experience with this. So, what do you say? What works and what doesn't work?
This is where I go. Well, I thought about this last night when you sent me what the topic would be, and I said I'd be ready. So I better live up to it. What I think the most important thing in the relationship after the initial attraction, which is important. I mean, a lot of people say, well, no, looks are only skin deep, but there's got to be something initially. And you can please, if I speak off base here, I am not an expert. I am not a licensed relationship counselor. It's just what I feel, what works for me. I'll never say in any of our meetings, as you know, I always say, my friend, I never say I'm right. I say what's right for me.
Mm-hmm.
What I can tell you this is after that attraction, there's still got to be something deep. And I think what keeps relationships fresh, aside from the romance aspect, we can talk about that maybe another program. But today it's what you exude and what you do very well, and it's communication.
Yeah.
And without that common union between you and I, really what do you have? And even in texts, I have certain people that you text, but when you text, I mean, they're a wonderful form. I can't imagine not having it today. You see the zombies walking around with their phones looking in there, not paying attention. I know I'm guilty of it too. But there's the intonations that you text it and it doesn't come out the way that you exactly meant, or communications.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you can do reflective listening where we're sitting down and we're talking and then I speak back to you and I'm not focused. My phone is put down when I'm talking with you.
Yeah.
I am present right here. I'm present now. And that's one of the most important things. In fact, one of the greatest books that I've read and heard is Dr. Gary Chapman's book on the 5 love languages, which doesn't necessarily have to be you love this book too. It doesn't have to be for relationships. It can be in every aspect. But remember what the 5 love languages are, Milena?
Yeah, so one is the giving gifts. One is
Gifts.
right, hearing something like hearing I love you.
Yes, words of affirmation. Yes,
That's right. Then it's touch. Some people love being touched.
Physical touch.
That's
Yes.
right.
And then
Go ahead.
acts of service.
Service.
And time spent together. So it's where you're going to have a blending of these, but generally there's 2 that really stick out. And especially if you know your lover, if you know your best friends, even your kids, if you know what their love language is, the communication that you're going to have is going to be far more efficacious that I found. So just knowing that, and I highly recommend this book. I would love to shake the guy's hand. In fact, I even quoted him in my last book. He did a book on anger, and the guy's wonderful. So getting back to your question, as I digress here, it's communication, and it's the hardest thing for me, Milena, in all the years is doing what you know that you should do, having an effective communication, is not trying to figure out the next thing that they're going to say so you can, formulate your answer.
True.
Just to try, just for me, the ADD king, the ADHD guy, the OCD man, the hyperactivity disorder child.
Yeah.
Drove my teachers crazy. For me, just to be able to focus on that.
Yeah.
Slow down, not be such a hyper SO, Yes.
Well, what you said, basically being present, right? Because if we are already formulating that answer in our mind, we are not listening. We're just focusing on what do I have to say next to impress that person, and that doesn't work. And I love what you said. Also, you mentioned texting, and I'm just going to give you an example. This was years ago when I was on a date with a guy, our first date ever, right? It was the last one too, I have to say. And here's one of the reasons why. Because, we met for the first time in person and we go out for dinner and he's texting and I'm sitting there and he's texting. I'm like, okay, that's not the way I want the date to go. I didn't feel appreciated or heard or respected. It just doesn't work that way.
It's absolutely rude. Now, there's certain things too. If he would have set it up properly, Milena, and said, "Listen, my daughter, in case she texts me, I have to take this." If you set it up properly,
yeah.
I have friends, and we're all voracious texters, and so if we go to dinner, this has helped. I love this. I love this idea. We all put our cell phones on the table.
Mm-hmm.
The first person that reaches for a cell phone during dinner, guess what they get?
They
get the check.
Yeah. Well, but
Is that like the best?
Yeah, that's one thing that I do when I'm out with friends or on a date or business meeting, whatever it is. The only reason why I'm going to answer the phone is if it's one of my kids or my son's school, because you never know, it could be an emergency. And I actually tell them, I say, listen, I'm sorry, but I think I have to take this one. I wouldn't take it if it wasn't my children. Right? And then if,
it's smart.
Yeah, there has to be an etiquette in this, and just paying attention to the person that's talking to you, that's sitting next to you or in front of you. There's something special about being present.
I could not have said it better.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. And when we talk about relationships, I think the first thing that comes to your mind in relationships, and there's so many aspects. I mean, we could do like 12 different programs on the different aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea of romance, no matter what kind of a couple that you are,
mm-hmm.
and keeping it fresh. Communication plays a vital and important part of that, of knowing when, what your partner is expecting. And a lot of people have these hallmark feelings about how it should be 50-50. Well, you and I both know that that's not the case, that sometimes you need to be the 85% person because your partner has had like a rough day, my God, or just something devastating. And sometimes you're not going to be able to contribute too. And allowing yourself to, we have this thing called ego. Now, our ego is very important, as you know. The ego is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. Using the healthy ego aspect of it as well is also important in that relationship, I think. Mm-hmm. What do I know? I'm just the crazy guy out here in the Pacific Northwest talking to an amazing world-class speaker here.
Oh, well, thank you.
on our podcast. I had a thought last night, and I was thinking about relationships, and I had just spent an amazing night with a special lady in my life, and we had watched a wonderful documentary called by Austin Vickers, based on a true story, called The People versus the State of Illusion. And it's magnificent. I highly recommend it, just to sit. It's an hour. And it got me thinking. And it's about, in a nutshell, it's about being in the prisons, our self-imposed prisons of thought. And how one thought leads to another. And I got to thinking about communication, and I got to think about relationships, and I wanted to throw this out to you. If you had found out, women are incredibly intuitive. Yeah. You guys just have this gift. Yes. I feel naked around you mentally a lot of times. It's like, I don't even want to have to think about what I told you or have any pretenses. I'm just going to say it. So I think about this, and I think if you've got an intuition and you feel like your partner is not sharing something with you. Mm-hmm. Now, what's the first thing? You feel like they're holding back. What's the first thing? How do you take that, Milena?
If I feel that he's holding something back, it definitely doesn't make me feel good. There's an energy in between us that something's not clear. And I've experienced that. I've experienced that in relationships, and that relationship didn't work out. There has to be a clear communication, complete honesty. I am such a believer that only when you're totally honest, when you say what's on your mind, that's when the real great stuff happens. And you know what? I know that from personal experience, just in terms, sometimes I would be afraid to say something, not necessarily just in romantic relationship, in relationship with my friends or with my coach. And I'm afraid to say it out because what will they think? Will they still like me if I say this? If I stand up for myself, or if I say, well, I didn't like this. But then I do it anyways because I feel if I don't, I'm going to feel some sort of resistance towards that person or even resentment. So I better just say it. And you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I'm going to tell you this, Tom. Not even once was this a bad choice. It always turned out that people were like, oh, wow, I didn't know that makes you feel that way. And we even had better relationship after this.
I can't deny, I want to come back to, there's another point in there that I want to get your thoughts on. You talk about a total truth. Now there's a point of being truthful, but there's a point of, where the truth is absolutely hurtful. One truth that I shared, I won't go into details about it with my marriage, it destroyed my marriage. I went through this total truth time when I hit 40. And so there's a point, and I know what you're saying about being truthful, but there's some stuff that you want to have a tacit understanding where you understand it, and it's you're saying that you have to get it off your chest. Mm-hmm. There's just a fine line between that. We can address that in another program. Coming back to this communication aspects, and we were talking just a few seconds ago before I digressed. You having this intuition of thinking that your partner is holding something back. Mm-hmm. Now, there's two ways that I took this. Number one, immediately, my ego comes into play, my hurt ego. Oh my God, it's something, about me that they're not going to want to tell me, and the other side, oh, what are they holding back?
Yes.
So it's that two aspects. And I think, and it's that, would you consider that? Is that being untruthful? When, in that aspect, not to hurt, as we said about being totally truthful, because that's going to hurt them. But if you're holding something back like that, does that harm the relationship? Is that like that first lie that you've been told to in the relationship, and then from that point on, you have to question everything that he or she says? Go.
Well, if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're saying if you feel like you have to hold something back because it would hurt another person, but the other person feels that you're holding something back, would this hurt the relationship? Is that did I understand it correctly?
That is a good aspect. I'm saying if there's something that, I don't want to say nefarious, or something that's going on where, let's say that you're texting like another male or female, mm-hmm. Or you're doing something that you don't want them to specifically know.
Yeah.
And you can tell something's up. That's a little different than perhaps what I'm saying about the total truth thing.
Yeah.
Or go on.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you have a girlfriend and you're texting to another woman, you definitely have to tell. I mean, first of all, why wouldn't you be honest? If it's a strictly platonic relationship, you have no romantic interest in that woman, she's your friend, why would you hide it anyways? I mean, what's to hide? We're all adults.
Right.
It's okay to have, if I'm a woman, to have a male friend. If you're a man, to have a female friend, that's okay. And I think nobody would hide if it was absolute platonic relationship. I think that people start hiding when it's not, when there's really more to it. And that's a problem, because will she know that he's texting to another woman? Yes, there are signs. Come on, you can't hide this forever, so she will know, and that will hurt relationship. So I would say, right. First of all, when you're in a relationship, be true to that relationship, be faithful. It doesn't work otherwise. If you already know you're going to emotionally cheat on another person, or even physically, why don't you just get out of the relationship and allow her or him to find a partner that's worthy of them?
Well, you just said a key thing, though. You just said, which many people are guilty of, is that they can't stand the thought of being alone And until the next one comes along, they will tolerate, they will be in it, whether it's because we're selfish.
Yeah.
And they can't. I have a great friend. He's one of my dearest friends in the world. And he'll tell you up front, he goes, I can't be alone. He doesn't like it. It's just who he is. And he's got an amazing woman in his life right now. I love them both to death. But I think that's one of the things too. It's fear. It's fear that, you're going to be alone. It's just maybe not liking, maybe I'm wrong here, but maybe not liking yourself enough that you can spend these quality time.
Yeah.
I love my quality time alone, but I entertain a lot. I have a lot of friends who just stop by. You better have your house, just in case anybody's coming by. You better have some in the house for them, and you better have your place in order, right?
Yeah.
I still make my bed every day from the time I was in the Navy. I just do it.
Yeah.
Just give me a feeling like I have it in control.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what? Here's the thing. When you're able to spend time on your own and enjoy your own presence, people want to enjoy your presence. They're attracted to you more. And I know that because years ago for me, loneliness was also, a big thing. Oh my gosh, I don't want to be alone. Why doesn't anybody love me, right? That was me way back. Now, oh, solitude, how great that is. I can do whatever I want. I can go for a walk and just think whatever I want to think. So it's good. And that's when people actually start gravitating towards you because you exude this happiness, fulfillment. You love yourself. And when you love yourself, others want to love you and give you the same thing. You cannot attract love from a place of emptiness, from, I don't love myself, I need somebody else to love me, please love me, please do so, because it sounds desperate, it can get controlling, it can get obsessive, and it just doesn't work out. This was a wonderful conversation with Tom Ziemann. Unfortunately, due to poor internet connection, some issues we had online, we had to stop. However, we'll be back next week with more conversation about relationships. I'm so excited to share more wisdom and more great tips about what works for relationship and what doesn't. So apologize for today, but stay tuned because next week, Tom and I will be back and we'll talk more about relationships. And I know that you're going to get lots and lots of value. So see you next week.